like you actually care about them. Now people are saying that they are evil.
No, I agree with you.
Alex Jones agrees with the weekend sit and spin. Do you?
I agree with you, and the police and military better decide whose side they're on.
Only on the one and only.
A weekend sit and spin is on KineticHiFi.com. We're internet radio. We're alternative media. Just trying to get the truth out there.
Good job. Good job.
And good Sunday morning to you. Welcome in to the Sunday Morning Freedom Spin. This is part one right here, the Drew Howard Show. You got me 9 to 11. Then from 11 to 1, you got Nick O'Kelly with the Sunday Spin with Nick O'Kelly. Great show today lined up for you on both of those. Nick had an awesome show last night with Suburban Myth out at Casey Mulligan's in North Charleston. Real fun time, so I hope a lot of people are out there for that. Big show today, though, for both of us. I know his part's going to be big. I've got a big show planned for you all this morning. And, man, we getting some scary news. In fact, this is breaking right now this morning out of Infowars.com. Ryan Murphy of KOTATV.com is reporting that emergency planners are preparing for the worst next Tuesday and Wednesday. We've got a drill going in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, preparing a 21-agency emergency disaster. And that disaster is a nuclear explosion near Interstate 80. Of course, it's always a good idea to keep an eye on any type drills that we see, because so often these drills do go live. There were drills during 9/11. There were drills during the Boston bombing. There were drills during Sandy Hook. There were drills during Waco. Every big false flag event we've had has had drills during it. That's how they cover it. Oh, we're just doing a drill. Then the drill happens to go live. So very interesting. We'll keep our eye on this through Tuesday and Wednesday. Obama's still pushing the rhetoric of we're going to have a nuclear attack here in America. That's his greatest fear, is a nuclear attack in Washington, D.C. or New York or somewhere of that nature. So we definitely have to keep our eye on this. Let's see if we can find a little bit more out of the KTOA here in KTOA Territory News. It's out of Scottsbluff, Nebraska. The hospital will help document victims, treat injuries, and make sure everything else is reported correctly. Every time we do an exercise is to test our plan, says Emergency Preparedness Coordinator Dave Edwards. Not necessarily how the staff reacts, but how our plans are in place correct. So it's breaking on Infowars.com this morning. Got a big story on Drudge about the UK on the brink with the split with Scotland. Scotland voting for its independence, it looks like. And there's some major issues there. I like to see anybody that breaks away from the EU, that breaks away from the one world government systems, things like that. But Scotland, they have a lot of entitlements there. They have a lot of things that are being paid for by other countries in the EU, as far as welfare, things of that nature. So definitely a something to watch out for. That also just all over the place today, particularly with this independence in Scotland. There's a lot going on with that. We've still got ISIS rhetoric ramping up, a new beheading video, which already a lot of people are claiming is fake. A lot of people are claiming the new beheading video is fake. That's out there. We definitely want to get into that today. British citizen David Haynes was supposedly brutally murdered by ISIS. He probably was brutally murdered by ISIS, but he just wasn't brutally murdered on tape. So. This is something big we touched on yesterday. I want to go ahead and get into that. 1/3 of Americans believe 9/11 was an inside job. I've got a Mark Dice video here on that I want to play real quick. As we said yesterday with Nick O'Kelly, it's changing. This week, of course, was this past week was the anniversary of 9/11. And 10 years ago, it was about 1/4 of the people believed that 9/11 was perpetrated by rogue elements of our government. Now we're up to 1/3. I think as this goes, it's going to be like the Kennedy assassination, where more and more people, as time goes on, are going to believe that this had government implications.
Either just don't know about the long history of admitted, confirmed, declassified false flag attacks and planned false flag attacks by the American government and governments around the world throughout history. But they also just have cognitive dissonance. It's just too painful for them. So it's a psychological protective mechanism for them to live in denial about such activities. You know, such planned false flag attacks like Operation Northwoods, or the activated one, the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which got us into the Vietnam War.
pause this real quick here. Let me pause this real quick. Operation Northwoods, part of it was to take over other airlines, paint them to look like civilian airlines, and then blow them up over Cuban airspace or fly them into buildings in Miami and blame the Cubans for it to try to go to war with Cuba. Look up Operation Northwoods. And you know who one of the key architects was of Operation Northwoods? Was a very young Donald Rumsfeld, who just happened to be sitting there as Secretary of State the day that 9/11 went down, or Secretary of Defense the day 9/11 went down. So again, Operation Northwoods really laid out the plan for what I think we saw on 9/11.
Adolf Hitler burning his own Reichstag Parliament building. And then there's also the Gleiwitz incident, where they faked getting attacked from Polish soldiers to justify their invasion into Poland. All false flag attacks. Or the Lavon affair. Go and look up the Lavon affair, where Israel, shortly after the State of Israel was created, actually planned on bombing some schools and killing some children to then demonize their enemies. Oh, but I thought Israel does no wrong. No, go look up the Lavon affair. I mean, it just goes on and on. You know, Operation Gladio, et cetera, et cetera. So over the years, there have been a series of polls getting people's opinions on this, like a Zogby poll, one of the big ones, Scripps Howard News Service, a CBS poll, etc. I'll cover some of these in just a second. But one of the first Zogby polls in 2004 showed that most people believed that the government consciously failed to act. 66% called for a new probe of unanswered questions, etc., etc. And here's another Zogby poll then in 2006. So they did a second one where they showed that 42% of the people polled believe that the U.S. government and the 9/11 Commission were covering up what actually happened. Remember how they tried to blame Saddam Hussein for 9/11? And then when that didn't work, they blamed him for, he's going to do the next 9/11. Let's not let the smoking gun be a mushroom cloud. All right, so then Zogby did another poll, 2007. 51% of Americans wanted, another investigation, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see, there's another Scripps Howard News Service poll. This was a big one where, people were suspicious that 9/11 was being an inside job. And just another, it showed about a third of Americans thought 36, more than a third, I'm sorry. 36% said it was very likely or somewhat likely that federal officials either participated in the attacks on the World Trade Center or the Pentagon or took no action to stop them because they wanted the United States to go to war in the Middle East. Let's not forget that the Bush administration think tank, the Neocon Project for the New American Century report, revealed that they had outlined their plans for the Middle East, but couldn't do it unless there was a, quote, new Pearl Harbor. Oh, that's right. Much of this audience, maybe not much of them, maybe a third of the audience have been so young during the 9/11 attacks that they probably didn't understand the significance of them at the time. Maybe even missed the growth and the evolution, or even the 9/11 truth movement altogether. When kind of old school truthers like myself, Luke Radowski, Gary Franchi, Jason Burmis, Abby Martin, we sort of were the founding fathers of the 9/11 truth movement. In 2004, 2005, 2006, the 9/11 truth movement sort of boiled over into the mainstream. We had people like Bill O'Reilly saying that we were dangerous terrorists, we were anti-American, that we were evil, etc., etc. If you really want to read some books on the 9/11 inside job, if you've been following my channel for any period of time, you know what a fan I am of books, because when you read a book, you're exercising your mind. It's not the same as just listening or watching a film or a YouTube video, which are often made by uneducated people who don't know what they're really talking about. But when you read a book, you're exercising your mind. Some of the best books on the 9/11 attacks are The Terror Timeline by Paul Thompson, just a fantastic, very accurate book. The 9/11 Commission Report, Omissions and Distortions by David Ray Griffin. He's written a couple books, even debunking 9/11 debunking, where some of the people try to debunk the 9/11 truth movement. And some of the claims obviously are not true. but at the core, there is definitely an undeniable conspiracy. Or 9/11 Synthetic Terror by Webster Tarpley, another very good book. Or you could even check out The Resistance Manifesto, originally came out in 2005, revised in 2008. My book, which has a whole chapter on 9/11 and false flag terrorist attacks. A lot more informative than just watching some YouTube videos. Reading a book is sort of like, it's the difference between watching somebody do something and then actually doing it yourself. You know, if you're trying to learn a skill, you can watch somebody do it, but until you actually do it and do it over and over and over again, it's not going to get really put into your muscle memory, into your memory. And so that's why books actually exercise your mind way more than actually scanning through some Wikipedia articles or watching some YouTube videos. But that is the interesting aspect of the 9/11 Truth polls. You know, just time and time again, so many people skeptical. So many people saw through the lies, and many of them have just unraveled. But the New World Order plan continues to get pushed full speed ahead by slick-talking, silver-tongued salesmen, satanic scum like President Obama, who, of course, used the 9/11 anniversary as a springboard to announce his new war on ISIS. I've covered that in previous videos, but just thought I would point some of this out.
And there we go. We'll go ahead and
We'll
go ahead and we'll bring that video down. Yep. Mark Dice, great channel. Highly suggest checking it out on YouTube. He puts up great videos every day like this. We play a lot of them here on the show because we're big fans of his. And the work he does exposing the Illuminati, exposing false flag terror attacks, really what's going on in the world. Great work by Mark Dice. We love him here on the show. And definitely suggest supporting him, checking out his channel, checking out his Amazon page, all of that. And back to the video that I mentioned at the top of the show. New video surfaces of British aid worker David Haines being supposedly beheaded, just like the other two beheading videos, which have been proven to be fake. We've got this coming out now. And Newsmax has an article. Their top headline today is Experts, Beheadings Driving Jihadi Recruitments to ISIS. So they're saying these beheadings are actually causing more people to come to ISIS and to be drawn into it and to sign up and recruit. We saw yesterday, we had a report where it's now 30,000 more people fighting with Islamic State, which isn't Islamic, according to Barack Obama. Even though their name is only Islamic State, they're not really Islamic. But we've had up to 30,000 more people fighting with them than we originally thought because of their publicity. They're being everywhere. I mean, you're seeing them treated online like rock stars. And my question is, Facebook would quickly take down a post for violating their terms and conditions. They'll take down a post very, very quickly if you get in trouble for that. They'll block your account. YouTube will do the same way. YouTube rejects most of our videos from the shows here because they say we're too inflammatory and that we're too we don't meet their standards and we don't meet their terms and conditions. But answer me this: how is ISIS sitting here chopping off people's heads allowed to be on there? How come they're not taking them down? It's because the powers that be, the controlling offshore bankers, the New World Order, the Illuminati, want you to see these videos. They want you to be scared. They want this terror porn coming across your screen because that's what it really is. It's terror porn. It's to scare you into submission. It's to scare you into not standing up. It's to scare you into taking the tyranny that is coming. The Islamic State of Iraq and Syria's reported execution of British aid worker David Haines is likely only the latest in what promises to be an escalating, serialized slaying of innocent people to prove its terrorist credentials and recruit more members, national security experts told Newsmax. They are the ones. It's not Al-Qaeda. Former House Intelligence Committee Chairman Pete Hofstra said they are trying to recruit more people. They believe the techniques that they are employing right now are successful in their recruitment and that they're funding and that they are going to keep going in exactly in that direction. We know the West is mad at them, okay, Hofstra continued, but I don't think they're seeing a robust Western response yet. At this point, we don't have a frightening coalition. They're just going along. They're killing Americans, and they've just killed this Brit. They're killing Christian minorities, and they're seeing half-hearted responses from the West. What they're seeing is their influence within the jihadist movement growing exponentially, and they're going to continue doing exactly what they're doing, Hofstra said. And again, until we get Twitter taking down their accounts, until we get Facebook taking down their accounts, until we get a complete media blackout on them, they are going to be portrayed as growing. They are going to be portrayed as being the legit freedom fighters here. My question is, to Facebook, to Google, to all of our tech, our Silicon Valley companies, why do you take down pictures of Gadsden flags? Why do you buy into the Southern Poverty Law Center's rhetoric that the most dangerous threat to America now is not ISIS, but it's conservatives, Christians, libertarians, gun owners, returning veterans? Why do you buy into that? That's what I want to know. Anyways, we're up against our first break here on the Drew Howard Show, part of the Sunday Morning Freedom Spin, right here on KineticHiFi.com, Spreaker Web Radio. You can jump in the chat box at either place. Talk to us this morning. If you're in the Charleston area, it's a cloudy, rainy day. We ain't got no sunshine out there, so we're going to break with Ain't No Sunshine. This is the Drew Howard Show.
This time where she's gone. Wonder if she's gone to stay. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and this house just ain't no home anytime she goes away. And I know, 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 I know.
Yeah, that's right. It's what happens when you cross bad with good. You're listening to KineticHiFi.com. It's Bud.
Hi, this is Eddie Floyd of the International News Show, AM News. I want to tell you about the Wainema Ranch. As a matter of fact, I'm going to invite you to visit Wainema Ranch for one reason. You can visit them online right now and help out where you can with our American heritage, the wild horses and burros at the Wainema Ranch. It is right here north of Reno, Nevada. That's WaiNemaRanch.com, WYNEMA Ranch.com. Get involved. Visit us today and see why I say my wife runs the ranch and I run my mouth.
Your business not going right? Don't know how to advertise? Come holler at your boys right here at Signs to See. We specialize in all your advertising needs. You need t-shirts, business cards, signs, banners. We got it all. Car magnets, decals, flyers. We got it all for you right here at Signs to See. Conveniently located at 937 Wapo Road, Suite 2B. You can also call us at 843-608-0722. You got a family reunion, you got a class reunion, and don't know how to get your t-shirts done? Well, call Signs to See. Signs to See is conveniently located at 937 Wapo Road, Suite 2B. Also, you can call us 843-608-0722. Or you can log on, SignsToSee.com. And I do all my business with Signs to See.
Do you sometimes think life was just better when I was young? Maybe you're right. You know, there has been a marked decline in girls ages 8 to 14 that participate in Girl Scouting. And today we're looking for girls who are ready to be the leaders of tomorrow. Girls in this age group are vital to Scouting. They serve as role models for younger girls and uplift the community. And ladies, we need you to be that example too. Become a volunteer, a troop leader, or just enroll your daughter in Girl Scouts today. Call 843-552-9910 to learn more.
I want to thank all the women's for listening to KineticHiFi.com.
We love it!
I know you do, baby. I know you do.
A liar's chair full of broken thoughts I cannot repair. Beneath the stains of time, the feelings disappear. You are someone else. I am still right here. What have I become? My sweetest friend. Everyone I know.
And welcome back to the Drew Howard Show. Sunday morning freedom spin right here on KineticHiFi.com, Spreaker Web Radio. Little Johnny Cash bringing us back in. Johnny Cash. Hard to turn this song off, I'll tell you. It really is. Anyways, back to what we were talking about before the break with the beheading of David Haynes, British aid worker. The beheading would likely be the third by ISIS in recent weeks after those of two U.S. journalists who were taken hostage in Syria, James Foley and Stephen Sotloff. Haynes is a father of two from Perth in Scotland. The Islamic State claims that it beheaded Haynes in retaliation for British Prime Minister's David Cameron entering with a coalition with the United States against the militants. As in the other videos, it showed a masked militant beheading Haynes, who was featured at the end of the video released in September 2nd showing Sotloff's death. The video is entitled A Message to the Allies of America, and it opened with Cameron strongly pleading last month to work with the Iraqi government and allied Kurdish Peshmerga forces to defeat the Islamic State. And again, I have to ask the question that I've asked about Iraq, that I've asked about Afghanistan. Are we going to finish the job if we go in there against ISIS? Or is this going to be more nation building? Is this going to be more endless, no bid contracts for the military industrial complex? Because that's what it's really all about. Why do we need to go to war? Why do we need to go to war with ISIS? Why do we need to go into a perpetual war with terror? Why do we have to have this 13-year now war on terror? Probably because it keeps the money flowing. Keeps the money flowing right there into the military industrial complex. Keeps Bell Helicopters, GE, all of those that need it.
25 states, 21 overseas bases. You're talking big money. You know how many helicopters have been lost in Vietnam? Nearly 3,000 so far. Who makes that? Bell Helicopter. Who owns Bell? Well, Bell was nearly bankrupt when the First National Bank of Boston approached the CIA about developing the helicopter for Indochina usage. How about the F-111 fighter? General Dynamics of Fort Worth, Texas. Who owns that? Find out the defense budget since the war began. 75 going on 100 billion. Nearly 200 billion will be spent before it's over. In 1949, it was 10 billion. No war, no money. The organizing principle of any society, Mr. Garrison, is for war. The authority of the state over its people resides in its war powers. And Kennedy wanted to end the Cold War in his second term. He wanted to call off the moon race in favor of cooperation with the Soviets. He signed a treaty with the Soviets to ban nuclear testing. He refused to invade Cuba in 1962, and he set out to withdraw from Vietnam. But all of that ended on the 22nd of November, 1963. As early as 19...
And, that was the clip from the movie JFK with Kevin Costner, Donald Sutherland there explaining it. But that's really a true statement, is we have to keep this war machine going to keep the money flowing to the military-industrial complex, to GE, to Boeing, to these companies that are literally making billions and billions and billions of dollars off of our children going and dying in the desert. Enough's enough. When are we going to realize you're never going to defeat terror because there's always something out there to scare you? If it's not radical Islam scaring people, it's going to be ticks with Lyme disease, or ticks with Rocky Mountain spotted fever will scare you, because that randomly happens in the low country down here. You have to be afraid of it. It's snakes, sharks. There's 1,000,001 things that people are scared of in this world. And just because we're going after radical Islamic terror, we're never going to defeat terror by defeating radical Islam, because there's going to be something else to scare you. It's a never-ending war when we declare war on terror. To use the South Park analogy, we might as well have declared war on our imagination. I think of it like an old myth from Norse mythology here. It's a tale with Thor where he goes to Jotunheim, and he gets tricked by Loki there, into doing feats against what he thinks are other humans, but they're not. They're illusions of Loki. So one of them is a foot race, and he thinks he's racing a person, but he's really racing thought personified. No one can keep up with how fast you think. It's impossible to win. There's another one where there's an eating contest, and what he's eating against is the personification of fire. Of course it's going to consume more. And it just makes me think about that every time I think about the war on terror, because that's really what it is. It's a never-ending boogeyman that isn't real, so we can point to it wherever we choose to. While ISIS specifically named Cameron in its latest video, neither Hayden nor Hofstra told Newsmax that it would likely affect Britain's determination to eliminate the terrorist. They're attempting to intimidate Western leaders, Hayden said. I don't think that works, and it hasn't to date. I don't expect it to work in the future. In fact, in the United States, it's pushed the president more in the direction of action, not away from it, Hayden observed. Yeah, as long as he can still get out to the golf course. If I can command bombing raids while I'm riding to the next tee box, then yes, it is a valid war. Regardless, Hofstra said, you're not going to base foreign policy off the brutality against 2 Americans and 1 British citizen. You cannot formulate foreign policy that way. Hofstra served 8 terms in the House of Representatives as a Republican before leaving office to run unsuccessfully for Michigan governor in 2010. I don't think this will have any impact at all on long-term strategy of the Brits, he added. They recognize this as a threat. They recognize it as a brutal threat. Hopefully, their resolve to join the United States to battle ISIL will be firm and resolute. So again, and just like Bush, we got to get a coalition here to go to war. We can't handle it on our own. We need the rest of the world to agree to go to war with us. Why? We spend more than the rest of the world combined on military defense. Why can't we handle 30,000 jihadists in the desert? And as we've mentioned on here before, Obama had the chance to take them out. They were lined up in truck convoys driving to Baghdad. He could have easily drone striked them right then, took them all out. We knew what was coming. We all did. We said that, but no, it's got to be left to run wild. And a big part of that is because they want the fear there. They want you to be fearful. They want you to be slaves, and they don't want you to be able to take care of yourself. And if you want any more proof that they don't want you to be able to take care of yourself, look at this Adon Salazar article we got out of Infowars.com right now. Today's show recommends fighting off home invaders with car keys, wasp sprays. Former detective says to treat intruders like royalty. Point them to all your stuff. In a recent segment on the NBC Today show addressing home invasion, suggested using car keys and wasp insecticide rather than firearms to combat intruders and recommend that Americans give in to thieves' demands. I've got a clip here we want to play. It's out of NBCnews.com.
This morning on Rawson Reports, dangerous home invasions. We've reported on several high-profile cases this summer, so what happens if an intruder ends up inside your house? Does your family have a plan to get out unharmed? Today, national investigative correspondent Jeff Rawson has some important information. Jeff, good morning to you.
Hey, guys, good morning. Look, experts say this is prime time for intruders, hitting homes while the weather is still warm. It's a chilling scenario. You're sound asleep and hear someone trying to break into your house. Would you know what to do? When I was a kid, my dad heard someone trying to break in. He actually ran downstairs to confront the intruder while screaming. It seemed heroic at the time, but experts say that's the worst thing you can possibly do. So what are you supposed to do? This morning, we've got some quick and simple tips to keep your family safe. It's the middle of the night, and these attackers are moving in. Home invaders caught on surveillance video, kicking in doors and getting violent, even attacking victims in their own bed. Home invasions, they're more common than you think, happening nearly 50,000 times a year. That's 135 home invasions every day. Just this summer, it happened to Sandra Bullock. An intruder got within steps of her bedroom. Just weeks ago, NBA star Ray Allen's family was hit, waking up to 7 intruders inside their home. Not even the Kennedys are immune. a stranger getting into their sprawling compound in Hyannisport this summer. So if the rich and famous can't keep them out, how can you?
It was absolutely one of the most frightening things I've ever gone through.
Susan Dawson came face to face with a home intruder.
I went, oh my gosh, who are you? He took a couple of steps and punched me in the nose, and down I went.
The attacker tied her up and ransacked her home.
I laid there, and he'd keep going through the bedroom looking for stuff. What I was thinking about most is, how is he going to kill me?
So how can you get your family out alive? Wallace Zines was an NYPD detective and 22-year hostage negotiator. I hear a noise, what do I do?
Real simple. A lot of people don't have alarms. They're very expensive. So what you should do, instead of leaving your car keys downstairs, take it and leave it on your night table. You hear a noise, hit the red button on it.
It's a built-in automatic alarm.
Built-in automatic alarm.
And he says there's something else you'll need in your bedroom, too.
Buy a can of wasp hornet spray in the hardware store or in the supermarket, because this is so potent. It's more powerful than police mace. The great part is if you spray it, it will go 20 to 25 feet.
So you can be standing at the corner of your room, and if somebody does get to your bedroom, you can hit them.
Spray them.
And what happens to them?
They just temporarily are blind.
Here's another tip. Sleep with all your bedroom doors open. You want your kids to hear what's going on. Then you go to them. So the key is to get the family together, all in one place, and then get out.
Exactly, as quickly as you can.
But what about a worst-case scenario? The intruder captures you, like what happened to Susan Dawson. They're holding you guys downstairs on a couch like this, saying, where's the money? Where's the jewelry? Do you tell them?
Absolutely. You want to treat them like royalty. On top of that, you don't want to lie to them.
And that's exactly what Susan did. She cooperated with her captor and got out alive.
It could happen to anybody, at any place, at any time.
Yes, folks, you heard that right. If you're getting robbed, treat your captors like royalty. Don't lie to them. Give them what they want. They want to rape you, allow them to rape you. Then it's not rape, it's consensual because you allowed it. They want to take your goods, let them take your goods. Roll over, play dead. Duck and cover. That's going to be the next government tactics for if you're getting robbed. You're getting robbed, duck and cover. It works for lava, right? Oh, that is sickening. That's sickening that they would go on here and that they would tell people not to get a gun, but to use ant spray. But to sit there and treat your captors, your abusers, like royalty. Oh, maybe that's because our captors, our abusers, are the government. They think they are our gods. They think they are the American royals. We have to treat them like that. This is sickening. And now we have Gabby Giffords coming out again saying it's time to take the guns for women's sakes. Yes, it was horrible that Gabby Giffords got shot. It looked like an inside job. Definitely some MK Ultra mind control there with the supposed shooter, if you look into her being shot in Arizona. But, aside from that, let's just look at this statement of what she came out in a September 12th Time magazine column and said. Gifford starts the column by revisiting a passage from the Violence Against Women Act under Bill Clinton. She says that the law has been good. Annual rates of domestic violence have dropped by more than half, to the point now where we have to get involved with people's private business and claim domestic violence in the case of Ray Rice. But she does not think it goes far enough. She wants more stringent VAWA, one that expands gun control beyond marriage and into dating relationships. This would include new gun control laws for boyfriends, partners, etc. And it means new gun laws for stalkers. Gilbert says that these glaring loopholes need to be closed for women's sakes now. On October 14, 2013, Breitbart News cited statistics from Chicago to show that gun control laws do not necessarily make the vulnerable less vulnerable. No, it makes them more vulnerable. Are you guys forgetting from a little over a year ago now, 2 years ago almost now, are you guys forgetting the Alex Jones on Piers Morgan clip? In case you are, let me play this again. This is one of the greatest quotes you're going to find out here as far as what happens. It's not the guns. It's not the guns that are causing the issues here. It's the tyrants.
with an iron rod 4 feet long. You can't ban the iron rods. The guns, the iron rods, Pierce, didn't do it. The tyrants did it. Hitler took the guns. Stalin took the guns. Mao took the guns. Fidel Castro took the guns. Hugo Chavez took the guns. And I'm here to tell you, 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms. Doesn't matter how many lemmings you get out there on the street begging for them to have their guns taken. We will not relinquish them. Do you understand? That's why you're going to fail, and the establishment knows no matter how much propaganda, the Republic will rise again when you attempt to take our guns. My family in the Texas Revolution against Santa Anna, my family was at the core on both sides starting that because Santa Anna came to take the guns at Gonzales, Texas. Pierce, don't try what your ancestors did before. Why don't you come to America? I'll take you out shooting. You can become an American and join the Republic.
And when you take the guns away from the law-abiding citizens, the only people that are going to have the guns are going to be the criminals. And then we have to get into the, well, just do what they want. If they break into your house, give them what they ask for. That's the best way. And you see this. Every job I've had where I've worked with the public, it's been told it's our company policy. If somebody comes in to rob the place, just give them the money. No. I worked at a Radio Shack in a very bad neighborhood in a bad mall that was constantly the site of crime. And luckily, all praise be to Jesus for this one, but I was never robbed there, luckily. I never had anything worse than a window in my car busted out. But I do know people that had violent criminal actions that happened there at that mall. Again, all praise goes to God for protecting me in that situation. And I truly believe, as the Bible says, that we are surrounded by angels at all times and that there is supernatural protection there. But at the same time, I wasn't going to be a victim. I kept a box cutter on top of the register, so if somebody tried to rob me, they were going to get a box cutter in the throat. I was going to go off 9/11 commission report style jihad with a box cutter on them like we're supposed to believe 19 terrorists did. I was prepared. I kept scissors, hammers, other forms of weaponry that I could use around there because I was not going to be a victim. And again, it falls into the 501c3 churches perverting the Bible, perverting the Word of God. Oh, the commandment says, thou shalt not kill. No, the translation says, thou shalt not murder, meaning it shan't be premeditated. If you're defending yourself, if somebody wants to attack you, you have the right to defend yourself to the death, either your death or their death. That's a God-given right handed down from the Creator. Why do you think Jesus told Peter to go sell his cloak and buy a sword? To defend himself, not to offensively attack the Romans, but in case the Romans attacked him. Gabby Giffords is a victim not because she got shot in the head. She's a victim because she chooses to be a victim. It's her choice. I'm sick and tired of people wanting to hide behind the choices to murder innocent children, but then they want to say that it's their choice to be a victim when it's damn sure their choice. I'm sorry for the profanity. I'm sorry for getting fired up here, but it's your choice to be a victim, and if you choose to be a victim, don't whine and cry about it. If you choose to stand up, if you're going down fighting, then you have my respect. And it's not just this story we're seeing. It's not just this one here. We're seeing other situations of, I wasn't able to be protected by the government. The government's supposed to be my daddy, right, Chris Rock? The government's supposed to take care of me. Well, we got Europe and the UK, where we've already talked about you're given a social worker from birth in the UK to take care of you because they don't feel like your family can do a good enough job. So you have to have a government agent come in here. And now we have Sarah Smith, a lady from Bradford City in the UK, that claims the government didn't take care of me. My social workers didn't protect me because my dad raped me and I had his baby. Where were the social workers at? I have a social worker, but they couldn't protect me. Protect yourself! And I realize that in Great Britain, you can't get a gun to protect yourself. But you know what? Like Alex Jones just said in the video, you can pick up an iron rod. You can do like the guy in the crazed Muslim that chopped off the soldier's head with a meat cleaver. There are other forms of weapons besides a gun. The gun isn't the end-all, be-all. Yes, it's our version of the Roman short sword that Jesus told Peter to sell his cloak and buy one of. But there are other weapons. And that's why banning the gun isn't going to stop it. Because people will pick up a meat cleaver. People will pick up another weapon out there. There are plenty of weapons that they will pick up and use to kill people. In fact, let's go ahead and play this clip right here. Government's going to take care of us. Government loves us. Obama is our daddy. Right, Chris Rock? Obama is our daddy.
I'm not going to say much. I think everybody else far better at this than me. I am just here to support the President of the United States. The President of the United States is, our boss. But he's also, the President and the First Lady are kind of like the mom and the dad of the country. And when your dad says something, you listen. And when you don't, it usually bites you in the ass later on. So I'm here to support the President. Thank you.
I'm here to support the President. I'm so funny. And the sad thing is I do like Chris Rock. I wish he would not be such a stooge. I wish he would stand up for for true liberty. I wish he'd be more like a Cat Williams, George Carlin, Bill Hicks, or myself as far as a comedian, Drew Howard here. The new voice of a generation like Pepsi. That's what I'm going to be. That's what I think I am. I'm liberty-leaning, speaking out. I'm a dark poet. That's the way I'd rather be. I don't want to be a stand-up comedian. I'd rather be a dark poet, a true innovator, somebody that makes people think. And you know who else is a true innovator? That'd be the band Suburban Myth. Right here, one of my favorite songs. It's off their new CD, Welcome If Only. You can get it available right now on all digital downloads, physical copies of the CD. But this is a song called Blind Rage. This is about the crazed Muslim chopping off the British soldier's head with a meat cleaver. We talked about it last year. It's a great song. Blind Rage here, Suburban Myth. We're going to go out to break with that.
Pay for another's cause and see heroes fall before my eyes. Everyone a hero, legends if they die. I'm so brave in my pinstripe suit. Television's where I hide. Everyone a hero, legends if they die. I stand small as those heroes fall. No one ever sees them cry. Now, buddy was a dreamer. A kid, he had a GI toy. He had a natural gift to right from wrong. Was always a soldier boy. Soldier's fortune, he had none. But his soldier's grit is steel. The comrade down, his bottle shone. Hear my battle cry. The hero's real. Everyone a hero, no heroes anymore. The brave they beg for another war. Blind rage knocking at the door. Everyone a hero, legends if they die. I'm so brave in my pinstripe suit. Television's where I hide. Everyone a hero, legends if they die. I stand small as those heroes fall.
You're listening to Kinetic Hi-Fi in Charleston, Samalama.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah, hey.
Hey, why is the computer so slow?
Internet connection?
It can't be the internet connection. We pay like $300 a month for that.
Holy chestnuts.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, I know.
Yeah.
So it must be. Let's look around here for a second.
All right.
Yeah. You know what?
What?
Where does this wire go?
That wire?
That wire.
I don't know. It looks new.
It does kind of look new, but then there's like 18 wires down there. Let's try plugging it in over here. What do you say?
No, not there. No, right here.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Are you sure, Tom?
Positive. Plug it in.
All right, let's try that out.
Okay.
Don't be that guy. Instead, put your trust in ITSimplified.com. Cloud computing, data center servers, network management, Web 2.0, SQL, scalable architectures, programming, tech infrastructure, security, and anything else you shouldn't bother trying to figure out. Call 843-376-1991. That's 843-376-1991. ITSimplified.com. That's IT-simplified.com. Solutions simplified.
Hey, there's no shortage of folks out there who claim to be website designers, graphic artists. It seems like every day you hear about a new social media firm promising to optimize your website and social media visibility. What you may not know is that very few of these folks have the experience and talent necessary to fulfill their lofty promises. As a small business owner, you know every dollar spent needs to have an impact, and there's simply no better way to set your business up for success than to trust your online needs to Charleston's premier full production service, Advent Designs. Advent Designs has a history of success and customer satisfaction which is unmatched, and you can rest assured that your investment will see outstanding returns. Whether you need an intuitive new website, an eye-catching logo, a powerful new banner, or comprehensive social media campaign, Advent Designs is ready to help. Call Advent Designs today at 843-298-1619. That's 843-298-1619. Or visit the website at advent-designs.com. Advent Designs, the power of perfection.
Yeah, it's what happens when you cross big with small. KineticHiFi.com. It's me. What you think I was gonna say? Hey, you people get your head together. I don't even know. I'm trying to have an attitude up here. I ain't got that.
All right, welcome back into the Drew Howard Show. One half of the Sunday Morning Freedom Spin right here on KineticHiFi.com, Spreaker Web Radio. A little live bringing us back in this morning. Dolphins Cry, it's a great song. I love Live. Been a big fan of them since I was in middle school. So definitely one of the bands that I want to see that I haven't seen. They're up there high on that list with Rush as far as bands that I want to see live that I have not been able to see. And a story we were talking about right before the break here, you know, since today's show wants to say, hey, if you're robbed, just treat the robbers like royalty. Give them what they want. Trying to take the guns because you don't need guns to protect yourself. In fact, we need to take the guns to protect women. And just such a great job that the government social workers can do to protect you. We have a story out of the UK. This is the mirror.uk. I was raped by my dad and had his baby. Why didn't social workers protect me? This is Sarah Smith from Bradford City. She won £160,000 compensation last week after it admitted a breach of duty and not removing her from her family home. They look just like any other loving mother and child as they stroll hand in hand from school, but between Sarah Smith and her 8-year-old boy lies a dark, explosive secret that is threatening to tear them apart, because the father of Sarah's son is her own father, and the plight is a result of a litany of scandalous neglect by social services staff. They failed again and again to keep Sarah from the clutches of her evil dad. He raped her more than 1,000 times from the age of 10 during the 7 years of abuse and got her pregnant twice, yet social workers ignored her pleas for help. Last week, Sarah won a £160,000 compensation from Bradford City Council, admitted a breach of duty or failing to remove her from her home. That was the line at the top of the article. Today, in an emotional interview, she tells of her terrifying childhood and how her escape from her father at 17 ended in even more despair. Because now, Sarah, 25, quickly got a boyfriend and gave birth to a boy she believed was his, only to discover the terrifying truth through a DNA test 4 years later. Tears of despair filled her eyes as she looked at the little boy she affectionately kisses every day when she picks him up from school. I love my son, I really do, but it's so hard to bond with him properly, Sarah says. Every time I look at him, I see my dad. So again, the government can't protect you. It's not your daddy like Obama says. It's not there to protect you. That's not even what the government's job is to be for. Protection is your own responsibility. The government's there to keep the playing field fair for everybody. Not to be there to coddle you from cradle to grave. And as we're seeing, it can't coddle you from cradle to grave. It fails miserably every time it tries. Her dad was found not guilty of child rape, a notoriously difficult charge to prove. And the following month, he was returned to the family home. This was in 2004. When Dad was cleared, I was heartbroken. It had all been for nothing. And then social service began to make a serious error in judgment over Sarah. Within the next week, she was taken out of the children's home and placed with her parents, next-door neighbors. And it's a horrible story of abuse here, and it really is a sad story. But the fact is, why was she turning to the government to protect her? Why was she not trying to protect herself? Maybe that's because Britain doesn't allow guns. They have the gun ban there. They don't allow it. So perhaps that's a reason why. She was unable to protect herself because the government's supposed to do that. We got a New York Times op-ed coming out here. The battle to end gun violence in America has been erroneously focused on banning assault weapons. Though more citizens are killed with handguns, it should be on eliminating the conditions that lead to such activity, according to a new op-ed piece in the New York Times. We spent a whole bunch of time in a whole bunch of political capital yelling and screaming about assault weapons. New Orleans Mayor Mitchell Landrieu told Lois Beckett, a ProPublica reporter who writes about gun violence for the piece. It turned out to be a zero-sum political fight about a symbolic weapon. And again, it goes into the fear that you see when you see a assault rifle. It's not that it's more dangerous. It's that we're conditioned that the AR-15's evil. It was the go-to weapon for Sandy Hook. How do you know a shooting is staged? The first weapon they come out screaming about is the AR-15. You can pretty much be sure it's staged. According to FBI data, only 322 people were murdered with any kind of rifle in 2012. And that would include the 26 supposed victims of Sandy Hook, because that was 2012. And continued focus on assault weapons stems from heavy media coverage of mass shootings, which disproportionately involve weapons like AR-15, a civilian version of the military M16 rifle. This, in turn, obscures some grim truths about who is really dying from gunshots. Most Americans do not know that gun homicides have decreased 49% since 1993. FBI's own statistics. As violent crime also fell, though the rates of gun homicide in the U.S. are still much higher than those of other developed nations. Yeah, but if you look, the overall violent crime rate is down because we don't have people being raped to death with an iron rod like in India. We don't have people having their heads chopped off in the middle of the street with a meat cleaver by radical Islamists because we are armed. Somebody tries to chop off somebody's head in the street, somebody else may put that person down, and they should. Banning the sale of military-style weapons resonates with bold legislators and the public. Civilians do not need to own guns designed for use in war zone, Beckett said. This is... Who is Beckett? Let me see if I can find him in the story here. I'm not sure who this Beckett is, but... I've got Beckett 3 times on here. Lois Beckett. Yeah, that's the writer here, excuse me. Handguns were used in more than 80% of murders each year, but gun control advocates had failed to interest enough of the public in a handgun ban. Handguns were most likely to kill you, yet they were associated with the public with self-defense. And that's why we need to get people associated with AR-15s. We've already banned the AK-47, which is a much more reliable gun, but, we have to be anti-Russian again. Therefore, because of difficult economic conditions that lead to gun violence, including high unemployment, low educational achievement, these conditions must be changed. More than 20 years of research funded by the Justice Department has found that programs to target high-risk people or places rather than targeting certain kind of guns can reduce violence. Yeah, what does it matter if you ban guns in Georgia when Chicago's the complete hellhole of mass murder? The over-under this week's probably 25 people that are going to be shot this weekend in Chicago. But we take assault weapons in Georgia. It makes people feel better. You can't take the guns. You can't ban the guns. As we shown with the Alex Jones clip we played earlier, if you ban the guns, it's going to lead to more violence. More unsafety, but hey, just go ahead and give whatever anybody with a gun wants. Just give them whatever they want, right? Oh, what a joke. What a disgusting, sick joke. Only it's not a joke, folks. It's reality. It's real life. It should be a joke, but it's not. Anyways, we're up at the top of the first hour. This is the Drew Howard Show, part of the Sunday Morning Freedom Spin, right here on KineticHiFi.com, Spreaker Web Radio. We'll be back after these messages. Got a video of Obama talking about ISIS we want to get into. The president's speech shows Obama is an ISIS collaborator. And a lot more. We'll be right back.
I'd like to believe we could reconcile the past, resurrect those bridges with ancient glance. But my old stone face can't seem to break her down. She remembers bridges, burns them to the ground.
We got talk shows, we got sunglasses, we got music, we got fake Rolexes. KineticHiFi.com. Keep it locked in, honey butter.
Surprise the love of your life with the meal of their dreams. Why fight traffic, weather, wait lists, annoying waiters, when the best of Charleston can come to you? Chef Michael Finau has over 20 years of culinary expertise to please your palate. Enjoy a romantic getaway in the privacy of your own home. Pricing is much more affordable than many downtown locations, and gift certificates are available. Simply visit cookingforcouples.co, cookingforcouples.co, or call Chef Michael 843-714-8693, 843-714-8693.
Hi, this is Bob Charles, the host of The Bob Charles Show. I very rarely endorse anything, but this service deserves my attention. Atlantic Repair LLC is the only credit restoration company that is actually headquartered here in Charleston, South Carolina. Unlike other companies that overcharge you because a middleman gets paid and then your credit report goes to Poland packed in sauerkraut. This company is here to help all of us and our credit problems like low scores, collections, judgments, inquiries, and a bunch of more bad stuff. Call Atlantic Repair LLC at 888-957-1118. They are the one company in South Carolina that charges 50% less than any other service on the planet, and no monthly fees either. They work till they are done. They get my vote. Now it's your turn. Call 888-957-1118 or go to www.atlanticrepairllc.com and follow the directions on page 1. They care for you.
For America's wounded warriors, sometimes coming home can be a battle in itself. Every one of them needs our support to meet the challenges they face every day. The USO provides Americans a way to offer that support to our wounded warriors and their families. Join us. Visit USO.org to learn how you can make a difference in their lives. The USO, until everyone comes home.
Yeah, it's what happens when you cross big with small. KineticHiFi.com. It's me. What you think I was gonna say? Man, you people get your head together. I need to know. I'm trying to have an attitude over here. Ain't got time.
After all, I knew it had to be something to do with you. I really don't mind what happens now and then, as long as you'll be my friend at the end. If I go crazy, then will you still call me Superman? If I'm alive and well, will you be there holding my hand? I'll keep you by my side with my superhuman might, kryptonite.
And welcome back. This is the Sunday Morning Freedom Spin with Drew Howard. I'm your host, and this is part of the Sunday Morning Freedom Spin. This is part 1 of the Drew Howard Show. The top of the next hour, you'll get Nick O'Kelly with the Sunday Morning Freedom Spin, the Nick O'Kelly Show, Sunday Spin with Nick O'Kelly. Definitely want to stay around for that, but before we go, we got a big show left here for you guys. was just reading a quick article here about the Venom spinoff movie that's getting ready to be made. Personally, I'm not a big fan. I haven't liked what they've done with the Amazing Spider-Man series so far. I wish that they would, Sony would just go ahead and give up the rights to it. I know it's a cash cow for them, but I would rather see Spider-Man back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, actually back with Disney. I'd like to see the X-Men also back. Although Fox is doing a great job building a shared universe between the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. Just think with what happened with Guardians of the Galaxy, how big that's gotten, how much of the cosmos is taken out because of not having the rights to Fantastic Four. And the Fantastic Four villains, such as the Silver Surfer, such as Galactus. So much of the Marvel cosmic universe is tied up with the Fantastic Four. I would like to see them back under the umbrella of Marvel Cinematic Universe. Personally, I did not like The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I had a good discussion with a friend of mine about how they turned Electro basically into Stan from the Eminem song. His character's motivation was basically the same as the Eminem song. And just not looking forward to it. Sorry to geek out for you guys there a moment. You know I love comic books, comic book movies, and I saw this article out of the Hollywood Reporter. Really, during the break, I started reading it, and it got me distracted. Anyways, let's go ahead. I talked about this one a little bit before the break. I've got a video here. It's out of Infowars.com. But it shows that President Obama's speech really proved him to be an ISIS, or ISIL as he wants to say, supporter. Or at least collaborator. So let's go ahead. Let's play this Infowars clip real quick here and let you get to this. And then we'll talk about it when we get back.
Obama came out and said ISIS, but to confuse people, it's been ISIS, IS, ISIL. It's really Al-Qaeda. It's been Al-Qaeda the whole time. But to confuse it, because it's so embarrassing that our government got caught by the military and everybody, it was the military mainly, last year, openly running Al-Qaeda. The military freaked out, decompartmentalized. There was almost a total mutiny. The Secretary of Defense got all freaked out when the chairman of the Joint Chiefs went to him and said, this is not going to fly. And so they figured out a new strategy. Change the name, have them invade Iraq, and then say we've got to fund the main Syrian rebels that are Al-Qaeda, by the way. They just keep calling the moderate group the main group, who admits all over the news they work with IS, Al-Qaeda, whatever you want to call it, to then attack Syria. You have to understand, the rebels aren't turning to beat Al-Qaeda. They're going to be armed and given air support to go and overthrow Assad. Watch. Within a month to 2 months, they'll be bombing in Damascus and saying, well, to be able to take out Al-Qaeda, we've got to take control of the whole government to clean the country out. And then they're going to kill every Christian in the country, just like Libya, just like I told you they'd do 3 years ago. It's now a failed state with over 50,000 people confirmed dead. And then Obama, we'll play the clip when we come back. He said in the speech, we're going to play a bunch of these clips, they're not Islamic. Well, they are funded by Saudi Arabia, the dominant Islamic state. 80% are Sunni. This is the group radicalizing the Sunnis. This is 10% of the 80%. Do the math. This is the driving sector of Islam right now. To say it's not Islamic, I know Obama's an Islamic scholar and did go to Islamic schools, and when the Arabs heard him speak in Cairo, they fell down and cried, saying his Arabic is more perfect than an imam. Because, I mean, he was raised a Muslim. It is true. I'm not Islamophobic. I'm not starting a war with anybody. I wondered why they would say on the news, Obama truth squads will arrest anyone in Missouri that says he's a Muslim. Remember that when he was running in 2008? We played the clips. I was like, why are they saying that? Because he's whatever he is, he was raised a Muslim. And so he's up there as the grand imam, the Mahdi, saying that, this isn't Islamic. And in a way, he is the grand Mahdi. He is turning radical Islam loose to take over the world while claiming he's fighting it and fooling everyone. Well, the Speaker of the House, Boehner, is giving a press conference right now, and he's endorsed Obama's request to not give $500 million. No, not to give $500 million to the Syrian rebels, to give basically unlimited amounts of money, speaking now at 12:24 Eastern Time. That's enough. Just get him off the screen. Again, if you're a radio listener, we're simulcasting on television as well, and we track and chronicle what the mainstream media and the politicians are up to. Boehner is the guy that supports Obamacare.
Boehner is the guy that helps work with the Democrats to try to stop the Tea Party and the Libertarians taking over the party. Boehner's the guy that keeps protecting Obama on Fast and Furious and everything else. And I supported Senator Paul saying we should bomb ISIS, but we started arming them to begin with as the rebels. So we've got to figure that out first, how they don't get weapons and how we then don't give them a new foothold in the Middle East. Instead, it's just, I'm going to give weapons to the rebels and there'll be no boots on the ground, even though he just sent an additional 475 U.S. troops. That's Associated Press. Everything he says is a lie. Everything he says ends up being a fraud. Let's go ahead and go to this first clip. Obama says ISIL, to confuse you more, is not Islamic. Well, it is Islamic. It does come out of that. Talk about political correctness, though. It is not Islamic. And then he goes on to call it by another name to confuse people. Let's go ahead and play that clip.
At this moment, the greatest threats come from the Middle East and North Africa, where radical groups exploit grievances for their own gain. And one of those groups is ISIL, which calls itself the Islamic State. Now let's make two things clear. ISIL is not Islamic. No religion condones the killing of innocents.
Oh, my goodness.
And the vast majority of ISIL's victims have been Muslim. And ISIL is certainly not a state. It was formerly al-Qaeda's affiliate in Iraq and has taken advantage of sectarian strife and Syria's civil war to gain territory on both sides of the Iraq-Syrian border.
We told you 4 years ago the plan, a year ago, 6 months ago. It's all on record at Infowars.com. Not because we're rocket scientists. It's a public plan. Wesley Clark talked about it. We can play those clips again if you'd like us to. To use radical Islamists to destabilize the whole Middle East. It is our government and NATO that put these people calling themselves Islamic State, calling themselves the Caliphate, Al-Qaeda. It's all just names of the same thing. The stupid black flag is the Al-Qaeda flag. The same one bin Laden gave speeches in front of, okay? That's how dumb they think you are. And that's how dumb they think I am. And now they admit Libya is a failed state and we've got to invade there because the very group they put in charge is blowing up the airfields and murdering the Christians and the non-radical Muslims. The only thing Obama said that was true in that statement is that the main victims are Muslims. In Libya and in Iraq, not in Syria. They've gone into mainly Christian areas and killed everybody. 300,000+ dead in Syria. You can look that number up.
And it's not Assad killing them again, folks. I'm not the biggest fan of Assad, but at the same time, he's letting people live in peace. He's not out there destroying some of the oldest Christian communities in existence. He's not out there sexually mutilating women. He's not out there putting them in burqas. He's letting women go to school, get educated, drive cars. This is more of the moderate Islamic that we're looking for here. You know, not the hardline Sharia law, chop off your hand, put you in a burqa, and women have to walk 5 steps. Well, now it's 5 steps ahead of men, so that way they can step on the landmine first. Used to it was 5 steps behind. But it's not that situation again. And under ISIS, that's what it's becoming. Everywhere we've seen, they are the hardline. They are the Sharia law. They are the kill you for being different if you won't convert. And they're the pure evil. And it's just like Alex Jones said in the video here. This isn't about getting rid of ISIS. This isn't about getting rid of ISIL. This is about overthrowing Assad. This is about overthrowing the Syrian regime and giving Syria to Saudi Arabia. It's about overthrowing Iraq and giving them control to Saudi Arabia. It's about overthrowing Iran eventually and giving control to Saudi Arabia. The 10 kingdoms of the Middle East are going to fall to Saudi Arabia. They're going to be the ruler of that 10 kingdom in the Middle East. You've got China that's going to rule Asia. You've got the EU, which is Germany, France, and Great Britain, that's going to rule Europe. The North American Union is going to be a kingdom. The South American Union will be a kingdom. Then you'll have a Pacific Island kingdom. Maybe India will break out into its own still. But that's what you're going to face. The 10 kingdoms of the UN's Agenda 21 plan. just like we have the 10 regions, the FEMA regions here in America. We got Mark Sanford calling off his engagement with the fiancée he ran away to Argentina with. Mark Sanford's a disgrace, and the people that voted for him and the people that get all excited about, he's such a great congressman, you make me sick. This is one of the most disgraceful things I've had since moving to Charleston. The Mark Sanford getting reelected and that god-awful abomination of a reality show called Southern Charm. And now what do we have? We've got Mr. Cokehead Playboy idiot Thomas Ravenel running for Senate. I'm going to beat Lindsey Graham. You're the one person that can't beat Lindsey Graham, you freaking moron. You freaking coked up idiot. Why don't you go just sit on your boat? Why don't you go annoy restaurants downtown and live off your daddy's money and just quit being such a tool? God, you're a disgrace to the city, Thomas Ravenel. I swear, I think we should put out a rule that if you see Thomas Ravenel in public, you can beat him with a bar of soap and a sock. I think people should be allowed to walk up and hit him with a bar of soap and a sock. Republican U.S. Representative Mark Sanford says he and his fiancée are calling off their engagement due to the ongoing contention with his ex-wife Jenny Sanford 4 years after their divorce. The former governor announced the breakup Friday on his Facebook page, writing that no relationship can stand forever this tension. He writes they'll be forever grateful to Maria Belén Shapur, and that if it's possible, there'll be another chapter when the waters calm with Jenny. In his rambling message on Facebook comes after attorneys for Jenny Sanford asked a family court judge to limit South Carolina Republicans' visitation with his youngest child. They also asked that Mark Sanford undergo psychological tests and take anger management and parenting courses. Sanford calls the accusations and requests preposterous, crazy, and wrong. And again, why do we have to have any of their drama being shown in the national media, much less in the media here in Charleston? Why can't both Jenny and Mark Sanford just go away? But Jenny Sanford's a victim. She's so victimized because her husband ran off. Boo hoo 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 hoo. Well, maybe if she wasn't an annoying, I didn't even say it. But yeah, everything I've seen out of her in the papers, I'm not sympathetic to her. She's an annoying, conceited, stuck-up little... trying to think of a euphemism that's radio-friendly here. Let's put it this way. She's your typical Mount Pleasant middle-aged woman. And when I say that, let me say that I preface this by standing on the Ravenel Bridge looking at the town of Mount Pleasant. And I can paraphrase, just change it around slightly, Obi-Wan Kenobi's quote from Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, when they're looking at Mos Eisley. In fact, let me find that. I'm going to play the clip for you guys. Here we go. Mos Eisley Spaceport. This clip, you can change it and it applies to...
Iceland Spaceport. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
You know, I like to stand on the Ravenel Bridge, look down at Mount Pleasant, and I think to myself, Mount Pleasant, you'll never find a more wretched hive of... entitlement... yeah, I got to think of the way I phrased it. Mount Pleasant, you'll never find a more wretched hive of entitlement and douchebaggery. We must be cautious. And that's how I feel every time I go into that city. And Jenny Sanford acts like the typical Mount Pleasant middle-aged woman. Entitled, douchey, and other non-radio-friendly euphemisms that I can't use, but you pretty much know where I'm going with those folks. That's what the town of Mount Pleasant is like. It should be blown off the map. I'm sick of it. It is the disgrace of the Low Country. You see all these people putting down North Charleston, and North Charleston has bad crime. North Charleston has its issues, but to me, Mount Pleasant is just the one area that I don't like to go to. I don't, because I feel like all the time you're getting fake people looking down on you. It's still the classic antebellum, oh, bless your heart type deal. We're so friendly, but we'll talk about you behind your back. I can't stand it. I can't freaking stand the way that the Mount Pleasant entitled idiots act. And that's what Jenny Sanford reminds me of. I wish both of those two would just fall off the face of publications and mass media. Anyways, we're up against a break right here. This is the Sunday Morning Freedom Spin, Part 1, The Drew Howard Show. Be back in a moment.
It's not like you to say sorry. I was waiting on a different story. This time I'm mistaken for handing you a heart worth breaking. And I've been wrong, I've been down, been to the bottom of every bottle. These 5 words in my head scream my way.
Thanks for tuning in to KineticHiFi.com. Stay tuned in. Thanks. Hey, there's no shortage of folks out there who claim to be website designers, graphic artists. It seems like every day you hear about a new social media firm promising to optimize your website and social media visibility. What you may not know is that very few of these folks have the experience and talent necessary to fulfill their lofty promises. As a small business owner, you know every dollar spent needs to have an impact, and there's simply no better way to set your business up for success than to trust your online needs to Charleston's premier full production service, Advent Designs. Advent Designs has a history of success and customer satisfaction which is unmatched, and you can rest assured that your investment will see outstanding returns. Whether you need an intuitive new website, an eye-catching logo, a powerful new banner, or comprehensive social media campaign, Advent Designs is ready to help. Call Advent Designs today at 843-298-1619. That's 843-298-1619. Or visit the website at advent-designs.com. Advent Designs, the power of perfection.
Do you sometimes think life was just better when I was young? Maybe you're right. You know, there has been a marked decline in girls ages 8 to 14 that participate in Girl Scouting. And today we're looking for girls who are ready to be the leaders of tomorrow. Girls in this age group are vital to Scouting. They serve as role models for younger girls and uplift the community. And ladies, we need you to be that example too. Become a volunteer, a troop leader, or just enroll your daughter in Girl Scouts today. Call 843-552-9910 to learn more.
I want to thank all the women for listening to KineticHiFi.com.
We love it!
I know you do, baby. I know you do. Yeah, it's what happens when you cross big with small. KineticHiFi.com. It's me. What you think I was going to say? Man, you people get your head together. I don't even know what I'm trying to do that. I ain't got that.
I believe all of the others will fly. This brings tears to my eyes, my sacrifice.
And welcome back in. This is the Sunday Morning Freedom Spin, the Drew Howard Show. And I got a new poll out of NBC and the Wall Street Journal. 68% of Americans don't think Obama will succeed against ISIS. Nearly 70% of Americans say they lack the confidence that the U.S. will achieve its goals in fighting the terrorist group ISIS, according to a new NBC, Wall Street Journal, Annenberg poll. The findings come in the wake of President Barack Obama's national address announcing new measures to combat the Sunni militants. It's kind of hard to believe he'll defeat them when he's arming them. You know, when he's supporting them. It's very hard to believe he'll defeat them. Then again, we did spend 13 years marred down in Afghanistan and Iraq. So again, it's hard to believe we're going to win this war. Pressure is mounting on the U.S. and its allies to cripple the militants who have waged a brutal campaign across Syria and Iraq. ISIS has already beheaded 2 American journalists and on Saturday released a video showing the execution of a third Westerner, British aid worker David Haynes. The poll conducted before the latest execution emerged showed that just a combined 68% of Americans say they have very little or just some confidence that Obama's goals of degrading and eliminating the threat posed by ISIS will be achieved. Just 28% said that they had a great deal or quite a bit of confidence. Still, 62% of voters say they support Obama's decision to take action against ISIS in Iraq and Syria, while 22% oppose it. And here we also have out of Breitbart 7 facts about ISIS that every American should know. In January, President Barack Obama dismissed the Islamic State as merely a JV team. Last week, Obama reversed that position, told NBC News ISIS is not a JV team. Similarly, 2 weeks ago, Obama said that the Islamic State can be shrunk to a manageable problem. Then on Friday, the NBC News reported the Obama administration said for the first time Friday that the United States is at war with ISIS militants. ISIS actually began in the 90s. While Islamic State may be new to some Americans, the group recently renamed itself simply as Islamic State has existed under various names and various shapes since the early 90s, including Al-Qaeda. I won't say that in the article here, but they are Al-Qaeda. They were fighting in Iraq as Al-Qaeda. A lot of media outlets are reporting that. ISIS is led by a man released from a U.S. detention camp in 2009, Abu Bakr al-Abadi. Body was released by the U.S. detention center named Camp Buka near the Kuwait border in 2009 when he was freed. Baghdadi told the U.S. Army reservists that, I'll see you guys in New York. ISIS is the richest terrorist organization in the world. Through its seizure of oil fields, banks, weapons, and other resources, ISIS has amassed a war chest of $2 billion. The ISIS threat cannot be overstated, Feinstein said. Dianne Feinstein criticized Barack Obama for being too cautious in confronting ISIS, calls the terror group the most vicious, well-funded, and militant terrorist organization we have ever seen. The number of ISIS fighters has tripled to over 31,000. ISIS has an estimated 2,000 Westerners in its ranks. With a porous border, we could have sleeper cells here. It could be like that show Homeland. ISIS now controls 35,000 square miles in Iraq and Syria. And in addition to the beheadings, ISIS carried out mass executions and rapes. In addition to ISIS videotaped beheadings of American journalists James Foley and Stephen Sotloff and British aid worker David Haynes, the terror group has slaughtered innocents in mass killing, raped women, abducted thousands of women and girls for use as sex slaves, and according to the State Department, has forced parents to watch as ISIS terrorists beat their children to coerce the woman into converting to Islam. Really great people out there, aren't they? Liberty-minded, loving conservatives. Great people there, that ISIS group. JV team. Why should we be afraid? And here we've got the U.S. lying about a story we talked about yesterday. The U.S. government is denying accusations that James Foley was threatened with retaliation if they paid the ransom ISIS requested to secure the American journalist's freedom. As we said, this past Thursday, James Foley's mom, Diane, told Anderson Cooper that she was embarrassed and appalled by the way the Obama administration handled her son's case. She said, I think our efforts to get Jim freed were an annoyance to the government, and securing his freedom didn't seem to be in the U.S.'s strategic interest, if you will. Diane also said that U.S. officials told her family not to go to the media. She said that the family was also told many times that raising the ransom was illegal and could lead to prosecution. But, trading 5 top commanders for an army deserter, that's not illegal. Even though he can't do that without Congress's permission, and he did, but that's not illegal. Diane also said, we already read that one. DW.de reports that Secretary of State John Kerry was really taken aback by Diane's statements. Kerry said he was totally unaware and would not condone threatening statements towards the Foley family from anyone in the State Department. Kerry spokeswoman Maria Harf said the State Department tried to help the family understand what our laws are about as regards to paying ransoms to terrorists, she added. This department would never and did not ever intend to, nor do we think we ever did anything that would we would consider threatening. So they don't consider it threatening, although the people they said it to considered it threatening. On September 12th, White House spokesman Josh Earnest responded saying that the administration had stayed in regular touch with the Foley family throughout the crisis leading up to James' beheading. According to AFP, Earnest and President Obama availed himself to every tool at his disposal to secure Foley's freedom, except for, exchanging people again for him, like he would for Bowie Bergman. He said questions about whether the Foleys would have been prosecuted had they attempted to pay the ransom should be directed to the Justice Department. Like you're really going to get anything out of Eric Holder. Here's a story I wanted to get to yesterday, but we ran out of time, so I'll get to it real quick here. And unfortunately, here at the end of the half hour, at the bottom of the hour at 10:30, I'm going to have to leave. We do have a video coming up that we're going to play for you guys, and then Nick O'Kelly will take over at the top of the next hour. So we do have that's coming up. But first, let's go ahead and get into the story I wanted to talk about. Reports surfaced Wednesday night that Senator Ted Cruz was booed off the stage at an event hosted by a purportedly Christian organization. Cruz was the keynote speaker at the new In Defense of Christians organization's dinner in Washington, D.C., had offered the crowd, a number of whom were Christians from the Middle East, including Palestinian Christians, public support for Israel. After doing so, some members of the crowd booed at Cruz, and they persisted until he left the stage, noting their hatred, saying he can't stand with them if they don't stand with Israel. Tonight in Washington should have been a night of unity as we come together for the inaugural event of a group that called itself In Defense of Christians. Instead, it unfortunately deteriorated into a shameful display of bigotry and hatred, Cruz said in a statement provided to Breitbart News. When I spoke in strong support of Israel and the Jewish people who are being persecuted and murdered by the same vicious terrorists who are also slaughtering Christians, many Christians in the audience applauded, but sadly a vocal and angry minority of attendees at the conference tried to shout down my expression of solidarity with Israel. Cruz continued in a statement by noting that detractors cannot shut down the truth, and the American people should not shy away from expressing the truth, even in the face of, especially in the face of, ignorance and bigotry. I told the attendees that those who hate Israel also hate America, and that those who hate Jews also hate Christians, and that anyone who hates Israel and the Jewish people is not following the teachings of Christ. These statements were met with angry boos and went on to tell the crowd that Christians in the Middle East have no better friend than Israel, that Christians can practice their faith free of persecution in Israel, and that ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Hezbollah, along with their state sponsors in Syria and Iran, are all part of the same cancer, murdering Christians and Jews alike. Hate is hate, and murder is murder. Again, what about Syria shows that they are state sponsoring any of these terrorist groups? Assad's been in a civil war with ISIS for 3 years now, which we've tried to back on 3 different occasions, ISIS groups. We're supplying weapons to them. The Jordanian king came out and said that ISIS was trained in Jordan at military bases for the U.S. So again, I have a problem with Ted Cruz spouting this. He does act like a non-interventionalist, but he's sure ready to get us involved in a war with Syria, with Iran, anything he can do to overthrow the Middle East and give it to the Saudi Arabians. Again, ask yourself, 13 years later, why has Saudi Arabia not even paid reparations for the supposed terrorists that were from their country? Why have we swept that under the rug? Why did we sneak Saudis out last year at the Boston bombing? It's such a like I said, folks, it seems like it's satire, but it's not. That's the sad part, is this is the reality that we face. And how do we stand up to it? We stand up to it the same way we always do. We stand up to it by trying to live above it, by trying to live better. And in order to do that, we have to remember these words, this mantra that we have here at Sit and Spin Radio. We leave you with it at every show. And here we go again.
Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes!
So until next week, be excellent to everybody out there. Be excellent to everybody you encounter, you come across. And party on. Nick O'Kelly will be up at the top of the hour. I've got a video here, an interview Alex Jones did with Scottish John the other day that we're going to play for the next half hour till Nick O'Kelly comes up at 11 o'clock. You do not want to miss that. Thank you for joining us this morning for the Drew Howard Show, part number 1 of the Sunday Morning Freedom Spin. We'll be back next Saturday, 9 a.m. to noon with the weekend Sit and Spin. Myself, Nick O'Kelly, be sure to join us, and I'll be back next Sunday with another Drew Howard Show. Until then, be excellent to each other.